Hey, I'm Tim, and welcome to the Mr. Maple Show.
And I'm Matt. Thanks for clicking on another video.
Today's topic is one of those questions we often get in our emails. We decided we wanted to do a lot of these question videos to really help out a lot of people who are searching for these answers. And today's topic is, why is my Japanese maple not turning red?
Because you bought a green one, duh. So for the 8 people that are mad at me for that answer, we actually do get a lot of people who don't realize that there are different colors of Japanese maples. So there certainly is a red one and a green one, and a yellow one and a pink one and a white one, and so many different variabilities there. So there are a lot of different cultivars of Japanese maples that are curated for different colors. So a lot of Japanese maples won't be red. There's a lot of Japanese maples that will have a plethora of colors. You can check out our What is a Cultivar video. But often with this question, it's going to be directed at a seedling Japanese maple. So a lot of people have a seedling Japanese maple. And again, watch that What is a Cultivar video, because I think it'll give a better understanding. Japanese maples are kind of like breeds of dogs, and that there's a lot of different characteristics that are propagated for those specific traits. Now, from seed, Japanese maples can have a huge amount of variability. So sometimes just because you took a seed from a red Japanese maple and grew that on, that tree may be naturally green.
And that green may turn red in the fall, it may turn yellow or orange. We don't really know until you evaluate that tree and see what it actually does. And so seedlings from red Japanese maples can be green. Often that's because this is a seedling we're dealing with, and it may be that this tree that you are looking at is simply a green Japanese maple, which can make a beautiful tree. So don't take away from it just because it's not red. Green Japanese maples provide some amazing, amazing fall colors, and this could turn out to be a really beautiful tree for you.
Now, there are a lot of other variabilities here too. We'll discuss several reasons why your Japanese maple that you know to be a red selection may not be as red as you want it to be, or may be more green this season. Now, certainly Japanese maples that are red can get a little greener in the late summer months. That's something that's pretty common on Japanese maples, especially, in that full sun condition. They're going to store more chlorophyll. They're going to get a little bit greener in the late summer months, especially right before that fall color. So if the closer you get to that fall time, Japanese maples that are red typically do get their greenest right before that stage.
And there are some cultivars that hold their color better than others. So some like Red Dragon or Emperor One may hold their colors better throughout the season than other selections. And so you may find out that certain selections may just go to different colors, while the others hold that red color throughout the season longer. So it could just be, again, the cultivar that you purchased may be better or not as good at holding its color throughout the season.
Now, what conditions have your Japanese maple been in? These are a huge factor in how red your Japanese maple is. Japanese maples do excellent early morning sun, late day shade. There's a ton that can handle all day sun. There's a ton. We have a video on shade, we have a video on sun. So definitely be checking out our full catalog here, because a lot of these questions have pieces to them in other videos too that can certainly help. But if you're growing a Japanese maple, and it's not getting much sun at all, it definitely may be a little more green than expected. So if that tree is in a good amount of shade, that often can green the tree up a little bit, especially a redder selection. A lot of red Japanese maples are going to have their best color with that early morning sun to kind of pick up the red and give them a little bit more of that darkness that you want, and then that late day shade to protect that sun, or protect that color. So that's a variability you might want to look at. Now, also be conscious of what conditions your trees have been in. Often here at the nursery in late summer, our trees will be in a shaded canopy because we're watering lots of Japanese maples. And so we're very conscious of that water amount. We don't want them staying too wet. We don't want them staying too dry. And so to help with that, we have them in a heavier shade condition. So that can cause them to look a little greener than they may in the ground in full sun. So leafing a tree out through its natural progression in the ground is typically going to give you your best dark red colors.
Now, we often have people who are asking this question, have leafed their Japanese maples out inside, indoors, or in their garage. Now, when you do that, those plants are not getting any natural light. And because of that, they may leaf out whiter, more chlorotic looking, or even green. And this isn't saying that your tree is a green Japanese maple. What it's saying is that your tree may be the fact that it's a red and it's just not getting enough sunlight to be red for you because you've leafed it out in an inside situation. Now, when you do this, you have to be very careful about this, because you have to start giving this plant morning sun until you start letting it get used to being in more sunlight, because you may burn that foliage by putting it out in full sun, rather than if you need to take steps. You need to go out there and give it a little bit of morning sun, bring it inside from the hot afternoon sun. A little more sun each day until you get that tree weaned off of being in that deep shade situation. And then you also start to get those colors on your Japanese maple. in the early spring, Japanese maples can go from green to red very, very quickly. When we're at garden shows, we literally can have trees in the back of the booth that are greener than the ones in the front. And so the exact same cultivar, simply from a few days of being in the shade. And this can be also true with being a few days in the shipping box. They may arrive to you a little bit greener than they would actually at the nursery. So that's one thing to keep in mind. As the season progresses, it takes longer and longer for that red to come back into the tree. And at some point during the season, sometimes it's midsummer, if that plant has gotten some green color into it, it may stay green for the rest of the season.
Hey, if you're enjoying these videos, make sure to support our sponsor. And now a word from today's sponsor.
MrMaple.com produces over 1,000 varieties of Japanese maples. You'll want to check them out and buy a Japanese maple from MrMaple.com. We greatly appreciate y'all and appreciate y'all shopping with our sponsor. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be a green tree. What that simply means is that tree is going to hold that greener color that year. The following year, you're going to get that red color that this tree was selected for, and the reason that you purchased this red Japanese maple.
Yeah, maples actually have their best color when they've grown a full season in the ground in the new location. They kind of get a little more acclimated, and you get those progressions of color. You get that natural sun protection and build up. And so typically the second year in the ground, they're actually prettier. Also, the roots are more acclimated, so they're taking up energy more efficiently that second year. And so the trees, are just operating at a more smooth pace that way. Now, some seasons can be a little different than others. I've certainly had some seasons here where we had droughts, and those years caused our trees to be a little bit greener earlier. So I've seen some red selections that hold their red exceptionally well, be a little more green. So there are some variabilities there for weather control, so be conscious of that as well. But we hope this has given you some confidence in different ways that your Japanese maple that you wanted to be red might be more green.
Yeah, and Japanese maples are beautiful plants, whether they're red or green. So make sure you enjoy this tree for what it is. It's going to be a beautiful tree that you can enjoy in your landscape and garden. We greatly appreciate you watching this video.
Hey, take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.